Welcome to Rise and Thrive in Menopause, episode number 2. The area that I am going to talk about today is an area that helps us to regain our confidence, to help us feel more comfortable, but is often not spoken about. And that is our pelvic floor and being continent versus incontinent as we get older. Let me ask you some questions. Have you found yourself worrying about little accidents or leaks if you sneeze, cough, laugh, or do any sort of activity? Or maybe you're just feeling like a heaviness and a discomfort down lower that you haven't really had before as you've got older. Or maybe you're just wondering, is there an exercise that I can do to maintain my pelvic floor health as an aging woman, so I'm not having to look for every public toilet everywhere I go? You can see someone who's quite experienced at that. So ladies, if any of those questions resonate with you today, know that you are in the right spot for our information that I'm about to share with you today. And for me, I understood the importance of pelvic floor strength probably not until my late 40s. Let me share a story with you. You know, when I was 26, I had my second child, Fletcher, and I definitely had a prolapse. But being 26, nobody ever speaking about pelvic floor strength back then, I felt I had a prolapse, but I certainly couldn't have communicated that to you at the time because I just didn't know about it. And I went on to become a Pilates instructor, and I've been a Pilates instructor for maybe 25, maybe even 30 years. And what I've come to realize is in my late 40s, I was starting to suffer from what they called an urge incontinence. Basically, I felt like I had to go and I had to go quickly. And that urge incontinence stuck with me, and I was a little bit confused because I thought, I don't get it. I'm a Pilates instructor. I do so much of this core strengthening exercise. Anyway, long story short, I ended up at a gynecologist, and when she was doing an examination, she said to me, do you realize that your pelvic floor is hypertonic? I was a little bit like, hypertonic? What does that mean? I'm probably embarrassed to share that, but I'm sure I'm not alone, because when I started to dig and delve into what this actually means, I was able to discover that there's really two types of pelvic floor conditions. I'm sure there's probably more, but hypertonic and hypotonic. And hypertonic is when you have an overactive pelvic floor, and hypotonic is when you have a weaker pelvic floor. The fun thing is that when you are hypertonic, overactive pelvic floor, I started to realize, you know, it's not just about getting that pelvic floor stronger, it's actually about helping our pelvic floor to be able to strengthen as well as able to relax. So there was two pieces to the puzzle. I was one piece of the puzzle, stronger, but I actually hadn't been doing the second piece of the puzzle, which was releasing and relaxing. And so being a Pilates instructor probably didn't do me any favors because I was doing so much of this on a daily basis. Anyway, long story short, the good news is no matter where you are, hypertonic, hypotonic, in regard to your pelvic floor health, we are able to regain our strength. And the reason we're able to regain our strength is because your pelvic floor is a muscle, just like all our other muscles. And with the right type of exercise and being consistent with that, you are able to regain your strength in that area, which ultimately, ladies, I think helps us to regain our confidence, regain doing those fun activities that we may love to do with our grandchildren but have been avoiding because we're worried about maybe having an accident. Helps us to feel at ease traveling on a plane, being in public places, and just frees us up to enjoy life that much more. So today I want to share with you my non-negotiable exercises that I do every day and only takes a few minutes every day, so that I know I am supporting this area of my health as an aging woman and really helping to, as I say, just maintain my confidence around that. So let's begin. You're only going to need yourself. I always say when you have an intention to do these tiny little types of exercises to support you, to think about when would be a good time for you to do those exercises. And based on research and science, it's always a good idea when you're trying to create a new habit to link it to a current old habit that you already have. So for me, I link my pelvic floor strengthening exercise going to bed every night. And so I go to bed every night, and as soon as I go there, I'm laying down on my back, I do my 10 pelvic floor strengthening exercises at that time. So first tip is pick a time that you feel that you won't forget about. And for some, it's brushing their teeth, they find is a good time. For others, it might be if they're washing up dishes every night. For others, it might be when they're at a stoplight in their car. So just think about what's something I do every day that I can link this habit to and know that you're supporting your pelvic floor health moving forward. Alrighty, well, let's begin. Okay, ladies, can I give you my second tip before I show you the exercise? My second tip is to understand what type of pelvic floor weakness you are currently experiencing. Are you experiencing, like myself, an urge incontinence where you think, oh God, I've got to go, and you just quickly got to go? Or is it more like a generalized type weakness that you're experiencing, that if you jump or you sneeze or cough, you have a little bit of incontinence and there's just a generalized incontinence? Or maybe you're suffering a little bit of both, which is quite common also. My tip is to understand what type you have, and sometimes that means for you to go to your doctor and get a referral to a type of physio that specializes in pelvic floor. And they can help you to understand, have you got hypertonic, hypotonic, and be able to be really helpful in giving you more of a diagnosis so you know what you're dealing with. But let's begin with our exercise. I'm showing you standing up. You can do this sitting down, you can do it laying down, and in fact it's probably good to do it in all different ways: standing, sitting, laying, even maybe slowly walking. So what I want you to do is just pop your hands just underneath your belly for me, and I want you to just inhale through the nose, feel your tummy rise, and exhale through the mouth and just feel your tummy release. Let's do that again. Inhale and exhale. All right, I want you just to hold whatever position you're here on the exhale, and I want you to understand where your pelvic floor muscle is. It is like a hammock, and it runs from your pubic bone to your tailbone. So it's like a hammock that runs from the front to the back, and that hammock holds up your number ones and your number twos. And so we want to try and strengthen that hammock so it holds everything up for us. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to think about, bring the brain awareness to your hammock, from your pubic bone to your tailbone. So think about that for me. Take an inhale through the nose. As you exhale, think about internally pulling up your hammock toward your hand. So pulling up toward your hand. And then as you inhale, I want you to slowly release your hammock and just let it relax and release coming down. Now that breathing may feel opposite to what you are used to, but don't fear, it is the correct way for us to do our pelvic floor strengthening. So let's just try it again. Take a breath in for preparation. As you breathe out, internally pull up your hammock through the front and back passage. And as you inhale, just let it all release and relax. And again, exhale internally, pulling everything up. And inhale as you release. Bring your awareness, exhale, pulling everything up through the front and back passage. And inhale. It can be helpful to shut your eyes so you can really concentrate on that area. Now ladies, let's exhale and pull up and hold. Now up in this held position, do little pull-ups for me. It's like you're pulling up and up, or like this. Yeah, so do a few pull-ups. And now just let it all relax. Try it again. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, internally pull up. Hold it, pulse it. Little pulses. And let's just release it and relax. So remembering there's two phases. It's not just pull up and strengthen, but it's also what we call full range of movement. So if I had you doing a bicep curl, I don't just say to you, do a bicep curl and keep going like that. I get you to release and contract, release and contract. And if I had you just contracting, that will create weakness over time because you've never released it. That was my problem. But for those girls that it's just become weaker, you need to do those full range of movement as well through our pelvic floor hammock area. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. If you did find this helpful, please consider sharing it with maybe a woman that needs to also know this. Think about subscribing to our channel so you never miss another one of our health videos, and be sure to press a like for me so it gets out to more women supporting women. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you for our very next episode.